I'm a hermit. That means I live alone and have more time to see the scenery and look inwards. In the days when I was a travelling hermit, I was watching the River Severn from Bullow Pill when I saw an unforgettable ball. There's nothing surprising about it, and yet it always takes you by surprise. I knew where the sun would rise over them, so I had lined up my van to see the sunrise from my bed, but there was no sign of it. The river has gone out, leaving bare mud flats. My van is parked by the lock, back doors open to the void. Smoke from my chimney is the only sign of life. The whole Severn Vale is waiting. The ball is always late, except the one time you rely on it being late, then it's early. The waiting goes on, cold, flat and still. You have to give up hope before a silver flash appears on the further shore, like a double-decker bus, moving where no bus could drive. It moves slowly and in total silence. It is the breaking wave. Ahead of it, seabirds rise in drifts, drawing the wave inland. It breaks at my feet and surges on, filling the lock, drilling a whirlpool opposite, and carrying its freight upstream. Old fridges, dead trees, bloated plastic bags of unidentified grot bob past.
Right. Well, welcome everyone to the tree planting for Hilary. The estate has very kindly given a beautiful beech tree in memorial, in memory of Hilary. We'd had in park, many days has lain, fear is again, but with the dead has been. Love is come again, like wheat that springeth green. When our hearts are wintry, grieving or in pain, thy touch can call us back to life again. Fields of our hearts, the dead and there have been. Love is come again, like wheat that springeth green. I never really knew that she wrote poems. This is a poem that might be relevant. It's called Shell. We live in a shell, no need to yell, it's just the way we are. The body is a shell, the mind as well. The family, culture and state all smell like the inside of a car. We can shrivel or swell inside our shell. We can shrink in a corner and really dwell on the limiting hell of our nice clean cell, and we never need venture far. Or perhaps we can grow to fill that space till the walls get thinner and rust like lace, and we put out shoots at a rattling pace, and our roots poke out below.
I am dyslexic, and Hilary said for many an hour trying to teach me the words and to recite poetry. And this is one of the poems that was very special to her, and it's called The Sum of Me. It matters not the length of life, but did you give your best? The length of the road you travel means little when you reach your final rest. Are you happy with the way you lived and what you made of life? Did you maximize the good and minimize the strife? Was I concerned with how many loved me and all the things I do? Or did I work enough to give my love to those who loved me through? Did I realize how great it is to give and not to get? Or did I look together in and every record set? Did I pay enough attention to those that helped me through? Did I give them what they wanted and love and respect them too? It matters not how long I live, just make my time the best. Happiness and giving through friends before I rest. And I think Hilary had a lot of true friends before she rested. Hilary, my dear, sweet friend Hilary. What can I tell you about Hilary? Hilary was always Hilary. There was never a day in her life that she wasn't Hilary. She was unique. She had a little smile, a little shy smile. And she had a twinkle in her eye. You always got a welcome, of that you were sure. That for many's a day we went to visit all of the old churches and follies in the woods, sitting on the riverbank. She always liked to light a little fire, okay, in a Kelly's kettle on a riverbank and make a cup of tea. It was so special. And I hope that we'll all meet together and take you to all these wonderful places that you took me to, and that you will all, for many years to come, remember Hilary.
Anything can happen. And it did. I saw the secret. Cracks in the ego shell revealed many selves, building, demolishing, distracting, gibbering and bickering. They were building something. It floated past my understanding like a submerged tree, which could have been a corpse or a statue, an image. I had caught myself inventing myself. Most of the time, I go to great pains to prevent myself seeing what I'm doing. But the 7-bore burst through some crack in my ego shell and blew my cover. The secret was out. It looks like an argument.
What a wonderful life! Freedom to see the bore and feel the beauty. There's a message in all this.
Yes, but what good is a message if you don't pass it on?
I will. I'll drive round Britain finding places where the other world breaks through and send back postcards. Then everyone can see the secret.
Secret? What secret? Won't be much of a secret if you tell everyone. The bore will be swamped with speedboats.
It's an inner secret. It's all about creating myself. Don't you see? It's the answer to depression and loneliness and so many ills. I only have to see what I'm doing.
No, I don't see. See what? You think you can deliver a message like that? You have prophetic delusions. Generally unheard, but always there, these two voices shape my moods.
You can do it.
No, you can't.
You have meaning.
You're useless.
Tomorrow I'll see it clearly.
Oh, yeah?
Have a lot of dancers in front of a beautiful building, and I went up to Worcester Lodge and knocked on the door, and Hilary came out and just explained to me where I could possibly find somewhere in Badminton Estate, and then she got me in the car and she drove me all the way around Badminton Estate to try and find a secret location that I wouldn't be bothering anybody. And so we ended up becoming really good friends because there's two things: my love of music, because I'm a composer and musician, and also my love of nature. And of course, as all of you, I'm sure, connect with Hilary through the nature. And we've ended up doing a piece of music and poetry together. I recorded Hilary in my studio in Bristol, and one of Hilary's great things was to try to explain and find out how to convey to people about the other world, what she called the other world, the secret. And it's something very difficult. He's talking to Matthew about this, about how to explain what the other world is and how it affects you. I personally think it's partly to do with the divinity within nature and how it actually affects us on a subconscious level. And she was trying to get that out, but also this thing about the ego, how we can find ourselves creating ourselves and building ourselves into something. And Hilary was obviously very good at demolishing herself, as she describes it. So it's all of this. So there's a spirituality aspect in music, in words, in nature, and how to convey this amazing energy to other people.
Then, working a way to keep the secret a secret is a whole chorus of voices telling me what to do next, eat next, wear next, feel next. They succeed in distracting me from seeing what's going on. It takes something overwhelming like the bore to cut through the chorus of distractions, which goes a bit like this.
I think I'll put the kettle on. The fire will be just right for toast. Then we'll drive right across Wales to the sea and learn Welsh and buy Welsh cheese and sausages and Barrabrith.
You'll be monstrously fat if you eat all that.
I can recall a year or two ago I'd suggested she and Jonathan, who was staying with her, go and see Syston Court. And they thought, yes, let's do this. And they went there, and they went past private signs, they went past no admittance signs, and were standing admiring the Tudor facade, and an angry man came out, saying, "What are you doing here? Clear off, clear off." And she was calm, and she said, "We're admiring the lovely house, and you must come and see my house."
Because Hilary, for some time, was the editor of a magazine published by the Folly Fellowship, whose successor is just sitting over there, Jonathan Holt. And she chose Jonathan to succeed her. As hermits go, that absolutely splendid lady, Hilary Peters, was unusually sociable. But hermit is what she called herself. I'd love to have got to know her better, and not just through emails and Christmas cards. When she took on the editorship of Follies, she immediately put her personal stamp and quirky style on it, as is appropriate for the public face of a charity interested in follies. And we've heard some of her verse. When she'd write an editorial, suddenly in the middle of it all, she'd burst into verse quite normally. There was an unmistakable Hilary style, I can tell you. Anyway, I go on. She was a doggy lady, and her dogs accompanied her everywhere, it seemed, and I don't think she got any more after the ones we knew had died. The other occasion was our tour of the Badminton estate. Well, I think we need to celebrate Hilary's life by having another tour there, although without her it wouldn't be quite the same.
And that was the end of that. And thank you for bearing with me on that, but I just thought it was relevant because it was very much about Hilary's life, especially as I discovered from Matthew after her death, that every day up in the grand room of her home, Worcester Lodge, she sang the Psalms in Hebrew, which she had learnt in her theology degree with Diane Smallwood, who sadly can't be here, Diane of Greenwich, who was part of the farm.
I've got a surprise for you.
we arrived and walked beside her. It was something to behold, and animals and people got on so well with Hilary.
And I thought I might read you the first email I ever got from Hilary. I didn't know her at the time, and I lead a community at Malmesbury Abbey called the Community of St Aldhelm, and we are a group of people who follow a rule of life. And Hilary had seen this on the website, and this is the email I got. Dear Catherine, I would like tentatively to ask to join your community, reading your books, especially St Aldhelm's Riddles. I do warm to him, but mainly I come for the architecture. When I read your rule, she means the rule of the community of St Aldhelm, I thought, I do most of that anyway. I call myself a hermit, but a joke hermit on the Badminton estate. I do say matins every morning, with particular devotion to the Psalms. I have been a hermit here for the past 12 years and have realised recently that it's time to tell people what I do. This may be a wrong move, but it feels right so far. What do you think? Wednesday 3rd at 2 looks good, as I'm already meeting a friend at the Abbey at 3. See you then. I am old and will be reading on a sofa. All the best, Hilary. And thus began a friendship which I very much treasured over the last 5 years. Hilary became a very much loved member of our community. She hosted a number of quiet days for us at Worcester Lodge with her inimitable hospitality, as has already been mentioned, especially the scones and the ploughman's lunches. She was enormously kind to me personally, as I know she will have been incredibly kind to people in this room, and I miss her hugely. Thank you.
She opened the door with a big smile and said, "Oh, do come on in. I know your face, but I can't remember your name." I said, "Well, I'm just blah, blah, blah." "Oh, yes, I know, you like the slow gin."
She was clearly interested in a sense of place, and hunting is so linked with Badminton and with her house. So she really became part of that community for a while. Well, not so funny, a very sort of warning instance a few years ago where there were a group of protesters at a meet anti-hunting, and Hilary was a figure moving through the crowd with a tray of slow gin.
And the next time I came, I stayed with Hilary. Now, the reason why I had written to her was that I was walking from Stroud to Bath on foot and thought this was the perfect midpoint here, and she would encourage me to run a bath and get ready for my next day's walk, would make me a packed lunch, and it just couldn't have been more perfect. And I'm very sad that I didn't come to visit her the last 2 years. She actually wrote to me on her Christmas card that she was hoping to see me, and I had a very firm intention to come when I then heard about her passing, and so there's this sadness that I haven't seen her.
Hilary was a most amazing lady, and she will be missed in all sorts of walks of life, and we're sad that she's gone, but we'll always remember her.
And I used to imagine her talking with C.S. Lewis, and I do realise about the theology department and so on and so forth, but we talk a lot about theology. But during the lockdown, some of you might know that Hilary took trips to Oxford just to be there when there wasn't the noise and the razzmatazz and tourism. She said, "Do you know what? I drove in a bus lane, and of course this is like trespassing. I'm wondering whether I'll get a ticket." Well, the next week we turned up with another curry. No, it was about 2 weeks later we turned up, and she said, you know, Michael, I've been to Oxford again. And I said, "Did you get a ticket?" She said, "No," with a wonderful glint in her eye. And she said, "But you know what? On the way out, I drove in the same bus lane again." And then my dog would be there. She hated it that he didn't have something to really do. So one day she went out and she got a shoe. And she said, "This is all right, Michael, if you had a shoe." So he proceeded
to then destroy the shoe. And of course, I'm feeling really bad about this. Her shoes. And he's absolutely, totally. And I'm sat there thinking, this is awful. Should I buy Hilary a new pair of shoes? And then she said, should I go and get another shoe?
Anyway, like Michael, she didn't really, there was lots she didn't tell me about. I wish she had done. She was so self-effacing. And when I think of her, and this is really what I want to say, if anything, of my memory of Hilary, is that when I think of her, and I miss her greatly, I feel a kind of a breath of fresh air, a breath of freedom. It's something about freedom from all sorts of things most of us gather around ourselves to form part of our identity, like our houses and possessions and our views of the world. She had her views, and she had a few possessions, as I know, having cleared Worcester Lodge, but really she seemed free of clinging to things, and free of clinging to ideas. She was fascinated by religion, but she didn't want to belong to any particular religion. And she was very suspicious, I think, of what she thought of as the self-constructed little human selfhood, human ego. And she kept on wanting to break away from that. I think she was one of the few people who successfully often broke out of a sort of narrow egotism, or she was really genuinely interested in other people in a very authentic way, which is why other people talked, and she didn't. She just listened to people, which is why we didn't hear enough from her, maybe.
And actually, her poetry and her cards and the way she was, to me, she didn't need to write it, she was it. She inspired me to actually live in a caravan, because I thought, well, if she can live in an ambulance, I think I can squish myself into a caravan. And suddenly she sends me this check, and she just puts the money through my account. She says, well, Poem, you're homeless. I want to support the homeless. So I was so touched. It's just her humour that comes with her generosity of spirit. And I just think she had such, I don't know what it is. I call her my spiritual mother, actually, because she was just her seeing of the world, and her freedom from money was recognising me as a dancer. Hers was to write a book, The Meaning of Life. And actually, her poetry and her cards and the way she was, to me, she didn't need to write it, she was it. So I just like to do a little chant, which the last time I chanted in public was when I was in court for anti-fracking. So I thought that was like, yeah, it just feels like this is much more for you.
Say things that took me aback and shocked me and woke me up, because she looked at the world from such a different kind of standpoint, from the normal, the conventional. She was so unconventional in many of the ways she thought. And one of those very striking ways that was different from almost anyone I can think of was her absolute, genuine acceptance of death. Usually you think of people who embrace death so wholeheartedly as she did as probably being tired of life, and yet she relished every day. Yeah, her attitude, her outlook to death, for me, very, very free, very striking. And as you know, as many of you know, she wrote cards to a lot of her friends, handwritten cards, to tell you about her own death. And the one she sent to our mother was wonderfully humorous, really. Our mother is 91, so quite a good deal older than Hilary. And the message in the card said, beat you to it. Well, I've told some people that and they were really shocked. I think it was a wonderful, sort of light-hearted embrace of death.
And it made our mother laugh out loud while she was upset. We roared with laughter.
Yeah.
You know.
What is the matter with the human race? We judge achievement by prosperity. We seem to think that speeding up the pace will fill the gaps in our sincerity. It's not as if we've come to understand the surging ocean of subconscious fears that carries us towards an unknown land of cruelty and enmity and tears. If we could give up fighting and combine to share the wealth our planet freely gives, and send out shoots of peace to intertwine with trees and animals and all that lives, then we could celebrate and justly say, in our time, every day is a holy day.
The voices witter on below consciousness if I'm relating to other people. They bob up when I'm alone, but they're there all the time. I don't often see what they're doing. Now that I have, it makes all the difference. The secret explains everything, and I want to pass it on. How can you? It's a secret.
Seven hissing silver whispers, breaking over safe solutions, sweeping through the neat conclusions, trashing watertight foundations, seeping into secret systems, goddess of beneath the surface, loosen the restricting prison,